I cannot report William Ruto to the police because they are under him. I cannot report the police to themselves. I cannot report Murkomen to the DCI because he is under him. So, in the situation that I face with my members, I can only report them to the people of Kenya. You know, sometimes I hear Ruto saying, "Oh, go and write a statement." We write a statement to who? How can you go to report William Ruto to the police? How can you go to report Kipchumba Murkomen to the police? You can only, what I can do in my position is just tell the people of Kenya what is happening.
The National Police Service is independent?
It's not independent.
It's not,
because how can it be independent when Murkomen is telling them shoot to kill? When William Ruto is saying shoot in the leg? They are just pretending that they are independent. They are not. That guy called Douglas Kaja, he is from my home. And I told him the other day, you are a potential customer of ICC. Remember what happened to General Ali? William Ruto and Kipchumba Murkomen will use you. What is happening? I told him, Kaja, he's from my village. One of these days, you'll be in ICC. I want to tell these county commanders in Nairobi and elsewhere.
Fellow Kenyans, now that is an answer with purpose and intent. And you may wonder, how did we really get there? What was the line of questioning? Why are some questions that journalists ask make them look and stupid? I'm your host, Anonymous Whistleblower. Kindly consider subscribing if you're new, and let's dive in to what really matters. To be honest, I was tuned into one of the most extraordinary interviews in Kenyan history. And why do I say this? You know, I always follow Yvonne Okwara, and I really like the lady. I love what she does, and with all due respect, some things have to be called out. Yvonne, I really love you and I appreciate you, baby girl, but you have to be called out for some questioning, some line of questioning, because how can you tell me you can ask a very, let me not say a silly question, but why do you act like you're blind? You know, I've been following The Explainer, and to be honest, in mainstream media, I do follow The Explainer and I do watch JKL live. Those are the two programs I do follow on mainstream media. But I do wonder, why do some journalists ask questions as if they are not a part of this country? Because tell me why, Yvonne, you could ask a question that will make many Kenyans question you. Because how can you tell me you don't know what is currently happening in our country? And asking that, why doesn't Rigathi go and write a statement with the Kenyan security agencies? And why does he prefer to submit his cases to international organizations and the US Senate? And I found it really appalling, because as a Kenyan and as a person who lives in this country, you all know what is happening. And we have heard of cases of state capture. We have had cases of institutional capture. Institutionals like EACC, the DCI, the police, even though we hear or we perceive that they are independent. But how independent are they? How independent are these institutions? I will pose the question to Yvonne, and the question is simple. I know every person has a person, and every person has a family and friends. So, for instance, you find your friend has been clobbered, or your family member, or maybe your child, your husband, has been roughed up by someone. And then you get the description of that person, and immediately you take an action to go and maybe report to the police station. And once you enter the police station, you come to find out, or you realize that the person who assaulted your friend, your family member, or maybe someone close to you, is the person standing directly to you. He is, or she is, the person who you are going to report to. How will you feel? Will you still proceed to submit a case? Will you still proceed to go and file? You know, and it makes Kenyans even wonder, because Yvonne has been very, very professional and a top tier journalist in Kenya. But that question really made me have some other questions, because it makes me feel like some journalists act blind to what is happening in our country. Because you can't tell me Yvonne doesn't know that some institutions are captured and they are used by the state to terrorize, to intimidate, and to do all sorts of dirty deeds to the Kenyan people. And I was wondering, why can Yvonne just ask, the questions that really matter? Because asking that why Rigathi should submit those cases to uh, to oversee bodies and organization, I think it is very low, and I think it was the best option for this man, because I can't go to somewhere I know these people obviously will do me bad or will harm me in one way or another. And that's why Rigathi was relentless on this matter of submitting the case to Kenyan security agencies. And it is a wise move, a very smart move, to work with the US Senate, because if we Kenyans are in the same page and we see what is happening in our country, we really need a good move to counter what is happening. Because with the rising level of corruption, with the rising level of what is going on, these goons, manenos, and other things which cannot be mentioned, very things that are happening in our country, and most Kenyans are really, really messed up because of the government's ideas, the policies that they are making. But it is not good to insult the Kenyan intelligent. Even if they view low-life Kenyans are just stupid, people are not stupid. It is not the ages where you will think that Kenyans are still dumb. We are not dumb anymore. We are not stupid. We read between the lines. We can see through the... We can smell it from a mile away. So, asking questions that really don't have... they really don't have, much of a case. Because I was really baffled with that question. I really don't know how Kenyans took it, because I went directly to the social media pages and I saw people starting saying that, Yvonne was paid, Yvonne blah blah blah. I know she's a top tier journalist, she does her work professionally, and maybe it is just a question, she just has to ask some questions, but some questions are really questionable. Don't ask questions that will make Kenyans look like stupid people, because when we talk about the involvement of government with these agencies and terrorist groups, it is on record, and we have seen even video clips of these leaders from RSF in Kenya. In fact, in one of our most iconic buildings in our country, the KICC, and they were having a feast and a party in our soil. So I really think that our journalists should step up their game. They should ask questions with value. Like, if I had the opportunity, I would ask, how will Rigathi combat with corruption? Because that is the real question. Not asking or dwelling on the past, because even when I had the interview, they touched on Shah and this corruption scandal that the president was talking about, that MPs are siphoning money or asking for bribes. The question is, how will you combat it? How will you end corruption? Not anyway, it is just my opinion. I would really like to know what you felt about that particular question, because I was trying to read on the body movements, gestures. I know there are some people who are very good at reading the body language, and I was trying to see what Yvonne really intended, but I will not discredit her. It was a good interview, to be fair to all the parties involved, and they need to ask the questions that really matter, because that question was really a waste of time. because we all see what is happening in our country. We all see what is happening. We know we can't trust these agencies unless they prove otherwise, because we know they are used as machineries of the state, and we have seen them time and time again during the Sabasaba movement, during the commemoration of finance bill. We have seen them doing some really, really terrible things, and we need our state agencies to rise up to the level. If they are independent, let them act like so, because it is very painful to see some things that they do to other people, not knowing that if you do something bad to someone, it may happen to you. And I will close this episode with a reminder. There was a shooting in, I think it was in Nakuru County, if I'm not wrong, and then they ended up shooting a CID son, a son of a CID. Now, when you shoot like that, and you find you have shot your own person, relative, do good things. Do good things to other people, and good will return in favor. So, Yvonne, kudos. It was just a good interview, but that question, I found it out of order. I have to say it. You are a good journalist. I really love your work, but I have to call you out for that. It was very low for me, because you can't ask a question that you too can see what is happening. Thank you for your time. It has been your host, Anonymous Whistleblower. Kindly like, share, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Till the next one, cheers. Stand by in 3, 2, 1, go.